Hi everybody, welcome to another intermediate QuickCast. Usually we do a QuickCast about once a week and preview the week ahead as well as the oncoming weekend. But I wanted to jump on here during the weekend and just highlight a few things that are going on. Some extreme weather coming to much of the lower 48, a few different areas here that we want to highlight. So here's a look at what's going on right now. We still have a kind of stalled boundary across Florida. That's increasing and enhancing the convection here in especially central and southern Florida. Still have that plume of moisture down here in South Florida that's funneling some of the heavier showers and storms through South Florida. So a little bit of a flood threat there. And then a few scattered showers and thunderstorms in the Carolinas today. That's just along that cold front that pushed through the Northeast yesterday. We had a little bit of a severe weather coverage for the Northeast and some storms in the high plains yesterday. That is all pushed offshore. You can see the rain that's left from that is over here near Halifax in Canada, but the East Coast is looking dry today, with the exceptions again from Georgia into the Carolinas, especially South Carolina, and then also Florida, especially South and Central Florida. We're also watching a bit of a troughing here in the northern plains. That's highlighting some areas of severe weather today from Montana into the Dakotas, and then also here in Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and even a little bit into southern Minnesota. We'll have to watch that this afternoon and evening for some strong to severe thunderstorms. All hazards are possible. A lower end tornado chance, hail and damaging winds are going to be the two primary hazards here this afternoon. Otherwise, it's a dry and warm day across much of the East Coast and also the Southwest. Obviously, this time of year, it is not rainy season in the Southwest, so staying pretty dry and hot, especially in areas inland of the Pacific coast. We do see, like we talked about on that quick cast, we see troughing digging into the west, so it is showery and a little cooler Vancouver down to Seattle and Portland today. Here's your severe weather risk areas for Saturday, June 15th. And going into Sunday, June 16th, that risk area shifts a little bit into mostly South Dakota, Minnesota, and over to Wisconsin. Looking further out though, this is what I wanted to really highlight here. There's an increasing chance of another tropical moisture plume, similar to what we saw in Florida this past week, setting up over the Gulf of Mexico. That may enhance that area of development that the National Hurricane Center currently has as a 50% chance of development in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. But the most important thing for especially the central Gulf Coast over to the Texas Gulf Coast is that system combined with the moisture plume basically straight out of the Caribbean Sea and funneling northwest is really going to increase this chances of convection, shower and thunderstorm activities. And the Weather Prediction Center is already highlighting areas that may see up to 2.5 to 3 inches an hour of rainfall rates. I want to take a look here and show you a little bit of the difference of the models. The one thing we can see here is the trend is pretty similar across the different models. So this is your GFS for Tuesday, 0Z. And here's your Euro model for the same time frame. And here's your Canadian model for also the same time frame, 0Z Tuesday. You can see on all three of these models, we have a moisture plume that is very significant here up through the central Gulf of Mexico and reaching up into areas in the central Gulf Coast, specifically from areas along I-10, Mobile, New Orleans, Lake Charles, and into the Houston metro. So once again, here's a look at the GFS, the Euro, and the Canadian model. On all of these models, there is indications here of some development down again in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. It remains to be seen on how intense that development region gets. Again, the National Hurricane Center, as of this broadcast, has that at about 50% developing into some sort of tropical system. Most of the models take that into Mexico, although wouldn't rule out far southern Texas as having some more localized effects from that system. But either way, regardless of that system developing at all, or where it goes in relation to the western Gulf Coast, it really doesn't change the fact that that plume of moisture and some enhancement around that system is going to funnel a lot of moisture into this area from Mobile, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, Houston, Corpus Christi, and even down towards Brownsville, Texas. So really all of the central and western Gulf Coast is going to see an enhancement of rain, thunderstorms, and moisture this week. Just as I was setting up for the quick cast here, the Weather Prediction Center posted a new note, and this highlights especially this area down here in the central Gulf Coast for up to 10 to even 15, even close to 20 inches of rain are possible here, especially in southern Louisiana and also just far southeastern Texas. This is also 7 to 10 inches of rain. That is a wider amount of 7 to 10 inches. That stretches from near New Orleans all the way back through Houston, Galveston, and the Houston metro. So this is a widespread heavy rain event with this tropical moisture plume. Just ask South Florida on how that affected their week. So we could see some similar scenes here from Mobile, New Orleans, over towards Lake Charles, and over towards Houston, Galveston. And this is the current Weather Prediction Center's outlook. They have a slight risk for excessive rainfall here in the southeast. This is for Monday and Tuesday. The threat shifts to the west as the week goes on, so Wednesday and Thursday that risk area moves into Texas. The other note too from the Weather Prediction Center is a possibility of upgrades. So we may see upgraded from the slight risk. This is again similar to how they do the severe weather. This is a few days out, so as confidence grows, often the risk gets increased. So likely upgrades for the excessive rainfall risk as we get nearer to Tuesday and into Wednesday, as we get further into the week. And part of the reason behind this moisture plume is this high pressure system on the eastern seaboard. That's going to continue for much of the week and actually expand into the western Atlantic, setting up a Bermuda High situation. Clockwise flow around that Bermuda High funnels that moisture up through the Caribbean Sea and into the Gulf of Mexico, and really just bombards that central and western Gulf Coast with that moisture plume. Any tropical development in the Gulf Coast is just going to enhance that and just exacerbate the situation here along the central and western Gulf Coast. This is the Weather Prediction Center's maximum heat index chart, and it shows some very hot temperatures here in the Northeast and Great Lakes. This is valid through Tuesday, June 18th, but this chart basically looks the same from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and really much of next week. We may get some relief with the troughing in the west as that pushes east late week and into next weekend, but for much of the next 7 days, it is going to be hot, humid, and very tropical for much of the East Coast and also down in the central US. You can see here there's some daily maximum heat index temperatures that are going to reach well above 100 degrees, possibly up into the 100 teens, like over here near Albany and the Capital Corridor, and then obviously also down into Texas and Florida. But much of Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and the Northeast Corridor from Boston down to Hartford, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington could easily see heat indices from 100 to 110. So that's the quick cast for today. I just wanted to get that out. Combination of extreme heat in the East Coast and then also that moisture flow establishing around the high pressure, that moisture flow setting up for a rainy, stormy, and possible flash flooding event from the central Gulf Coast through the western Gulf Coast into Texas. We'll have live streams as needed for severe weather coverage and any tropical weather coverage, but have multiple ways to get warnings. Please stay safe and stay weather aware. It's also important to drink lots of water, stay hydrated, take breaks if you're outside, especially in the Northeast where there hasn't been a lot of summer weather this season yet. This is really the first big heat wave for the East Coast of 2024. So please take it easy, have ways to get weather alerts, and also have ways to stay cool if you're on the East Coast this week.